my name is Marsha Wolf. I'm a research scientist in the astronomy department at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. And I work on astronomical instrumentation, and I do research on galaxy evolution. Okay, so this is what we call the GFIP. It's the Grading and Filter Insertion Prototype. So this is the prototype we built of our instrument using real motors and actuators that will insert optics into the beam inside the instrument. When we go to assembling the real optics for the instrument, we'll be doing it in some of our back rooms, which are much cleaner than this outer lab. The detector itself will go inside a cryogenic dewar, and so what we'll do is take the whole dewar into the clean room. We handle the detector in our bunny suits and gloves and install it into the dewar, close it up, and then it's sealed up and safer. And then we bring that whole enclosure out and integrate it into the rest of the instrument. These are different electronics modules, and so these control all of the actuators, anything that moves in the instrument. The other thing that this prototype has allowed us to do is to develop the software, the control software. So it's been written in LabVIEW. That's what we use. That's the standard for the SALT telescope. And that allows us to test out all the modules. Because I went to such a small school, we didn't really have science fairs or anything like that, but I remember loving science in grade school, and I think in 4th grade we had little experiment kits that came with our science book, and so once a week we'd do our little go over and pull out the materials for whatever the experiment was that week, and I remember that fondly as something that I really enjoyed doing. I grew up in a very small town, farming town. My family is very conservative and religious background, so it's strange that I ended up liking science so much, and particularly being a woman, a girl at the time. In my upbringing, that was not really stressed for girls, to be interested in those kinds of things. But I was, and my parents were very supportive, so it worked out. We're expecting to deliver the instrument to the telescope near the end of 2012, next year. So we've got about a year left of fabricating and assembling the real thing. This mates up to an instrument that operates at visible wavelengths, and we share a few optics with it. So we have to bring that one off the telescope down in Cape Town, which is the headquarters for the observatory. So once it goes on the telescope, we'll have a period of about 2 months of commissioning, which is doing real observations on sky and characterizing how the instrument performs. I grew up wanting to be an astronaut because I remember the Apollo program. I was about 6 years old when we first landed on the moon, and so the Apollo space program was really big when I was growing up, and that had me always interested in space. I got interested in amateur astronomy when I was nearly 30 years old. I went to actually a laser light show in a planetarium at Dayton, and they had, it was at a Museum of Natural History, and they had the telescope open after the show, and I went up to the telescope, and that was it. I was hooked on astronomy.